Ginny Gallagher, and I'm mom.
Ryan Gallagher, and I'm dad.
How do you typically tell people about Dylan's heart condition?
Well, now it doesn't really come up very often in conversation because he's tall and thriving and doing great.
Yeah, I think we talk about it very infrequently anymore, right? Because it's something that's always kind of in the back of your mind, but we've always tried to not make it any less than it is, but certainly no more than it is.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit first before we get to his actual birthday 18 years ago. A couple weeks, you're excited to have a kid, excited to be parents, maybe terrified. I don't know. I haven't had a kid yet. And then sort of what was your expectations like, and how are they just rocked by the heart condition?
So I found out something was a little amiss at around 20 weeks.
Okay.
We didn't know it was as severe as it was, but the pregnancy was definitely, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't expect it was going to be as bad as it was, but we definitely knew something was up. So I think there was definitely trepidation and anxiety a little bit during the pregnancy, especially when we were planning for knowing how the delivery was going to go. And
it was a I don't know, maybe you knew this, maybe you didn't, but Dylan was a twin.
Mm-hmm.
And so we found out the twin wasn't going to make it at 12 weeks, and then they said, hey, look, we looked at that. There's a test. I think it's called the AFP test or whatever it is, but the fetal protein from that test set off kind of one of our triggers. So we looked a little closer, and it looks like the baby that's going to make it has a congenital heart issue. And so we went from having twins that were both healthy to now one kid, and then the one kid was having a heart disease, a heart issue. So it was a pretty tough couple of weeks. And then as things got closer, what we did, we had a few different people from around the country look at it and try to figure out, okay, what do you recommend we do? So we started getting prepared for, the next step.
In some ways, I feel like I'm a planner, and so I knew something was happening. I didn't know, like I said, we thought he had one heart defect, and he ended up having 4. So things got even thrown, but I know there's a lot of people with stories of just like their baby turns blue, and you're just
they don't know.
They don't know.
Yeah.
So we definitely knew something was up.
There's Dr. Azrat, right? He's a really brilliant doctor, and we're so thankful for him because we would have been one of the families that were just shocked by this. Mm-hmm. And we had a scheduled C-section at Hoag, and I think they were worried that Dylan wasn't going to make it, and so they came back and said, look, we don't really have the beds here. I think you need to take him to CHLA, and CHLA was full, and so...
They weren't really supposed to be discharging me, but I was like, I'm not staying at this hospital. I have to get up with the baby. So Ryan went with Dylan in the helicopter up to LA, and I went with my parents, and he had surgery 2 days later. So he was 4 days old when he had his first open heart surgery. But there was like a twilight zone, you'd feel like you're watching something happen to someone else, and you're very out of body, very surreal. Shockingly, we drove home with him that Thursday. It was like 7 or 8 days later. It was crazy how fast he turned the corner of good. Babies' cells regenerate so quickly, and I remember he took a little dip on like Tuesday. He wasn't doing great, and then suddenly Wednesday he did well, and Thursday, I think we were maybe home by that Thursday or Friday. Wow. So literally a week after he was born. It was really shocking.
So you have this blur, you try to regroup. Do you ever start to think forward and saying, what does it look like for a kid to live with this?
I think you just always try to think forward and visualize the good things that are coming. That would be my advice too, to just keep pressing forward and visualizing him riding a bike and playing baseball and doing all the things that he's supposed to be doing, going to school. Just keep visualizing your baby and your child just doing all the normal things that they're supposed to be doing,
Who is Super Dylan?
We'd have to always go get his heart checked out. And he's like, Dad, why do I need to get my heart checked out? We were conscious about him at a very early age not developing any kind of a mental stigma associated with his heart. I told him that every time we went to have his echo done every year, I told him that they had to take notes on his heart because he's a superhero. I said, they just can't believe how amazing your heart is and how strong you are. And so he kind of looked forward to some of those.
Yeah.
Until 11. What was your thought process before that appointment?
I think that kind of took us, that definitely took us by surprise. So we were not expecting that. Like I said, he was thriving still, didn't seem tired, nothing seemed off. He was playing baseball. That was an appointment in April, end of April, and then they basically were telling us he needed another open heart surgery to fix. He had a leaky tricuspid valve that they had repaired when he was 4 days old, and it was leaking a lot again because he'd grown. And then, of course, you're trying to not react in the appointment because the doctors say things pretty matter-of-factly. I remember he's like, yeah, so we think we're going to have to go back in there. And we're like, what?
Yeah,
it's like...
Screeching halt. Yeah, I remember vividly the day I had to tell Dylan he was having, the second open heart surgery, which was really tough. Because the questions the kids ask, Dad, why do I have to do this? Why do I feel fine? I don't want to do it. And, he's, crying and stuff.
Yeah. I think the hardest part about that was we knew him so much more by then, and he didn't understand why he'd have to have surgery, and we didn't tell him, but once it started getting closer, we did have to tell him he had surgery at the end of July. So once we told him, it almost was like flipped a switch for him. I think he definitely knew something was going on because we kept going to doctor's appointments. And
he started getting a little bit more out of breath. I think that maybe that's what it was. Maybe around
Yeah.
the basis and he was out of breath or something like that. There was some trigger, and I guess maybe there's a little PTSD on my part from that night because it was a really hard night.
Yeah.
I definitively remember one night he's like, Dad, I don't get it. What are you worried about? God's got this. And I remember going back to my office and just bawling.
Yeah.
And it was tough. I mean, it was tough.
How did you guys approach telling extended family?
I think it was really hard to tell Shay too. And even as a mom now, I think you just worry a little bit about, there's so much attention that's shined on the heart kit and the appointments and the worry and the stress. And so you just don't want them to feel lost in the shuffle. It was hard to tell her.
Yeah, it was hard.
My parents and his parents, it wasn't, not that it wasn't hard, but she was the hard one for me.
How did you try to do it?
I think we just all had to sit down and tell her. I think we tried to be as honest as we could. We just told her, and she had lots of questions about when it was happening and who was staying with her and how it was, and all the normal questions. She was only 10 at the time, so.
I think it's really hard. I think that we both talk about that quite a bit because it's a.
You don't want them
you
to
just,
feel.
Yeah, you don't want them to feel. You don't want them to feel left out. You don't want them to feel, and you don't want to create. You've all these outside wounds that you're trying to heal on the one kid, and you don't want to create inside wounds on the other one, right? And so, in hindsight, I wish we would have, and I don't even know if there is, but if we would have gotten more advice on that, and maybe, because I'm not sure. We tried our best. We tried our very best, but it was our first time through. And now looking back, you can see like. As much as we tried, maybe there were some other things we could have tried, and I think if, when you talk to Shay or, she'll talk about some different things where she felt left out, and it was not our intention at all to make her feel left out. It was just like Jenny said, we were trying to just make sure, we kept the one healing.
Yeah.
So
How did you guys approach the day before the surgery?
We went with friends. They were like, let's go out on our boat. My parents were in town to be with Shay, so we went out on their boat and had a really great day. And it's still a very surreal day. There's just this impending sort of just anxiety of what is ahead, and then you kind of finally get to the day that you've been waiting to have behind you,
I think that was really good. That would be another bit of advice.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to just sit in my room by myself all day because it was, it's just such a heavy thing before that. But I'm really glad that we went out and did that.
We did. It was fun.
As a family, and it took our mind off of it, and it kind of, I think, relieved a lot of stress before that versus just sitting at home by yourself. So if you can do something, as a family to just ahead of time, I think that's I would definitely do that again.
For sure.
Is there anything that can prepare a parent for watching them roll down the hallway and you're told that you have to stop at this line, but they keep going?
Just having faith. Also, just the team that you surround yourself with, whether it's, just knowing we've been so blessed to have the team of doctors that we had at Children's LA, and just their confidence. I mean, I remember Dr. Starnes just like, you feel so confident handing your child off to him because he really makes it like another day at the office for him, so.
They've gotten so much better at these surgeries now. I think that's the one thing that we want to communicate is that, with the technological advancements and how sophisticated these hospitals and tools and surgeries are now, they really can do a tremendous amount for the heart.
When you think about him going off to college, what are some of the normal feelings that you're feeling of oh my gosh, he's leaving? And then what are some of the other thoughts because he has a heart condition that come across your mind?
And you think about, things that go on in college, like a party, right? I mean, is he, we have talks with Dylan, okay, it's a little different here. He can't, it's different than some other kids, not only from that aspect of things, but also from the standpoint of just, we're not going to be there to self-govern you, and in Dylan's case, when he's going on to play volleyball in college, we definitely are going to make sure that everybody's aware of his condition, the coaches, and they already are.
Yeah. I think we just also have to have faith that when you're parents and you do your job well, this is the hard part of doing your job well, they leave the nest. So, but he's worked really hard, and we're super excited. He's going to be playing Division I volleyball at Pepperdine. He'll start next fall.
Probably the other thing we want people to take away is that that's where we're at this point. We are normal parents of a kid playing a sport, and we don't think about this. It's yes, way back in our mind, we don't think about this every day and think about
how it can hold back.
Hold him back, right? I mean, do your research and have faith and know that there's tremendous medicine these days. And I think that particularly in this day and age, every day that goes by, there's so much innovation that who knows, maybe open heart surgery will be a thing of the past, in another decade.
Yeah.
It certainly could be.